Okay, I don't want to waste your time. This presentation is going to be about 60 minutes to maybe 90 minutes, depending on how many questions we have. So I want to make sure that I maximize your time because I know that it's very valuable. Okay, so you're in the right place. Okay, if you don't know how to write one line of code. Okay, if you do, that's actually a bonus for you. Okay, it's a plus, but it's not a prerequisite for what I'm going to be teaching you guys today. Okay, the next is you don't have any or little experience hiring developers or managing technical projects. Okay, so if you've never done it before, that's okay because I'm going to show you guys my tricks and how I've been able to learn kind of the hard way, and you guys can use my shortcuts. Okay. If you have no idea or have failed in the past to take a product to market, okay? So maybe you've created something and it just flopped, right? You heard crickets and maybe you sold 2 or 3 copies of it. And believe me, this stuff happens all the time. It's perfectly normal. And it happens to hundreds, thousands of aspiring entrepreneurs every single week, right? So, I mean, don't feel bad. It's just a matter of learning the system and the blueprint, of course, of what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, and then also you're in the right place if you don't have thousands of dollars to invest or experience tracking down VC funding. So what I mean by VC funding is, venture capitalists who invest, hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars into a project, right? Obviously, you can learn along the way, or you can make mistakes and drive lots of traffic if you have millions of dollars, but for the average Joe, for you and I, we don't have that type of luxury. And I know when I first started out, I didn't have that luxury. So I want to teach you guys how you can do this, how you can create software on a bootstrap budget where you don't need to have a massive budget or burn through your life savings just to create an idea and turn it into fruition. Okay. But if you guys have an idea and you want to build a piece of software for your business, right? If you want to create recurring revenue, right? If you want to create multiple streams of recurring revenue, if you want to create a wildly profitable software business, this is the webinar training for you guys, okay? So obviously, I don't want you guys to leave, but if you don't want to create software, if you don't want to create a software business, if you're not interested in creating recurring revenue, then this probably isn't a good training for you, okay? So it looks like a lot of you guys are cool with it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I need a little bit of participation before we get into the meat of the training, okay? Just because I want to just kind of gauge and see who's here and kind of tailor this presentation for who's on this call. So in the chat box or in the questions box on the webinar, do me a favor and just type a 1 in the chat box if you have created a piece of software before, okay? One piece of software, multiple pieces of software, just go ahead and type a 1, okay? Type a 2 in the chat box if you have an idea for an app but left it at that. You never actually created it and launched it, okay? And then type a 3 in the chat box if you're just like, software, huh? Like what? You've never even thought about creating software, or maybe you have, but you just don't have an idea, or you don't even know the first place to start. So give me a 1, 2, or 3 in the chat box right now. Okay, I see a whole bunch of 3s coming in, so that's good. Okay, 3, 3, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. Okay, so the majority of you guys, just from what I can tell, thank you for chiming in. The majority of you guys have never created software before. You never, you don't know the first place to start, and so that's fine, right? Regardless of if you put a 1, 2, or 3 in, I think you guys are going to get a lot out of it. As long as you have, if you're aspiring to create a piece of software, you're in the right place. Okay, so like I said, I was able to build, I built an 8-figure software company out of my home office, okay, with 0 programming skills whatsoever. I cannot code. I can kind of go into WordPress and change a few things here and there. I used to do a lot of search engine optimization, so I can do things like update a meta tag and change a few permalinks and that kind of stuff, but I cannot, write PHP code or any type of development skills whatsoever. So, if I can do it, you guys can do it. And there's been plenty of other case studies out there of people who have created successful software startups with zero programming skills. Okay, and so here's a little screenshot. So, obviously this wasn't my home office when I first started out. I used to live in a smaller house, and I had a really small kind of office. It was, I don't know, maybe 8 by 8, and just my desk and my laptop, and that was really it. And over the years, I've been able to build a bigger team, and I've been able to build my kind of my dream, which was we moved into a new house, and I built this custom home office studio from scratch. And so this really was my goal, was to kind of be able to work from home. I have I'll kind of explain my personal situation just in broad strokes in just a second, but I can be home. I never really liked the stuffy corporate environment. I worked for a few corporate companies when I first was out of college, and I hated it. I hated the cubicle lifestyle. I hated that. And so I built this home studio, and this is where I run my company, and I love it, and I have people from all over the world that work for me, and that's and I'm not to say this is right or wrong. I mean, some people go the office route. This is just what has worked for me. But I'm here to tell you guys that you can start a software company and grow a software company and be successful just at your own house with a desk and a computer. Okay. So for me, cracking, well, I like to consider this kind of cracking the code, right? Being able to really crack the software code, it changed my life, and it changed my family's life forever. And so here's just a few pictures of myself with my wife and my daughter. She's 6 years old now. I think in this she was 4.5 or 5. We went on. She's about 5. We went on a beach vacation to Turks and Caicos. It was beautiful last year. And this is the type of lifestyle that I'm able to live because I've been able to crack this code and use the formula that I'm going to be teaching you guys today. I can work from wherever I want. I don't have to have that 9-to-5 grind where you're trading time for money. Let me know, guys. I mean, how many of you guys, if you're kind of like me, you hate trading time for money? Just give me a quick yes in the chat box if you can you guys get that, right? Because I'm sure a lot of you guys, that's your situation, right? You're making other people rich. You're working for the man, right? You're working for someone else so that they can grow their company. But if you're going to work hard, if you're going to if you're passionate about something, there's no reason why you can't take that passion and turn it into your own business and make money for yourself and provide for your family, or provide for whatever you're passionate about. Maybe it's a charity. Maybe you like to travel. Maybe you have a certain hobby, and you're not able to really live the life that you set out for, right? So here's my goal by the end of this webinar, is really just to open your eyes to the opportunity. There is so much opportunity in software you don't even realize, okay? And I want to show you guys how if I can do it, you can do it, okay? I want to help you guys create your first piece of software and create an extra income stream, or even be your primary source of income, right? Some of you guys, you're going to take this content, you're going to take this training, and you're going to run with it, and you're going to be able to accelerate and move really fast and make this your primary source of income, where you're making what you were at your day job, but you're doing what you love, or making 2, 3, 5, 10 times more than what your day job was, right? Or for some of you, this may just be a little hobby, right? Create a piece of software on the side and have it be an extra income stream, right? Maybe it'll pay your mortgage, even your telephone bill, your electric bill, bring in your grocery bill, right? And that's fine, right? So whatever you guys have in the back of your mind of what your goals are, that's totally cool. But the system and the framework doesn't change. It's just a matter of how much you're willing to put into it, and how dedicated you are, right? Now, we're going to be talking about the word bootstrap a lot. I just want to kind of define what bootstrap means, because that's essentially what I've done and kind of the system that I've learned to create. And bootstrap is all it is it's a situation in which an entrepreneur starts a company with little capital. Okay, it's an individual. An individual is said to be bootstrapping when he or she attempts to found and build a company from personal finances or from the operating revenue of the new company. Okay, so in all, it's just a fancy way of saying, hey, you don't need to have a ton of money to create a piece of software and bring it to market and start making money. And that's what I want to teach you guys, how you can create something super fast, get it to market, and have it start to make money immediately so that you can reinvest that money, and you're not taking a massive risk where you're investing 40, 50, 60, 100 grand, your life savings into a piece of software only to have it flop, and then you're like, well, shit, I'm out of luck, right? That's not what we want to do, and I've seen so many aspiring entrepreneurs or software startups do this, and they put themselves in such a bad situation that they can't get out of it. Okay, and that's not what we want. Okay, now to me, and I mean, this is kind of the landscape. The old days are gone, right? Today's landscape, you don't have the big conglomerates, the Oracles, the IBMs, the Microsofts. Yes, they still exist, and don't get me wrong, they still make a lot of money, right? IBM is not even a software company anymore. They've evolved. Microsoft is obviously still very big, but the landscape has changed. Okay, it's not just, oh, here are the big software companies. There's no way you can compete with these guys, right? And the reason that is because technology has evolved, right? Technology is cheaper. It's much more accessible. There's things like cloud technology. There's more talent across the world. There's developers, there's designers, there's IT guys, there's support staff. So there's more and more of these startups starting to pop up. Okay, they're becoming more leaner. They're leaner startups, and they're more specialized. They're more niche. Okay, before you had these massive companies that kind of was a catch-all for all these different types of pieces of software. Now things are becoming much more specialized. Okay, so like one example is our Pay Kickstart platform, our payment platform. We probably would have never been able to build this platform on the shoestring budget that we originally started at if we didn't have things like Amazon Web Services and cloud technology and all these different new pieces of technology that have evolved. And so you'll notice in almost every niche, right, any type of specific product that you want to buy, there's all these different startups that are popping up. ClickFunnels for for landing page builders, right? I mean, I could rattle off 1,000 different startup bootstrapped softwares that started from nothing, and just in a particular niche, right? ClickFunnels, Lead Pages, 10-minute pages. I mean, there's all of them, right? And then Basecamp, Drip, SendLane, MeetEgger, GitHub, Hubstaff, TechCrunch, Plenty of Fish. All of these are companies that started on bootstrap budgets and have made it mainstream. They've become big time, and they have thousands of people paying them every single month for their software as a service, right? And yes, most people don't think about it this way, but Facebook started off on a bootstrap budget, right? If you've ever seen the movie The Social Network, you guys know that Mark Zuckerberg started in a dorm room just coding away on his laptop, and then he just hired a few of his buddies and he just gave them some equity, and that's how Facebook started, right? Now, obviously, Facebook, they brought in investors after there was proof of concept, and they already had hundreds of thousands of people using the system. But when they first started out, just to create the platform, they basically they were on nothing. I mean, maybe $5 or $10 grand to run servers, and over the course of a year to kind of get traction. But they were a startup company. Okay. Now the software industry, it's currently at $105 billion. Okay. Now by 2020, that's estimated to be at $132 billion. Okay. Everything is going towards software, right? Everything is going towards technology, the internet. So that's one of the reasons that I absolutely love where the direction of my company, and hopefully the direction that you're looking to go as well. Okay. The industry is only getting bigger, and every single year it seems to increase by 20-30%. Okay, so why do I love software? Okay, besides just the reason I just mentioned, there's higher perceived value compared to information products, right? People just have they think of software as a higher so what I mean by that is they're willing to spend more money on software. Okay, it's easier to sell. You get higher conversion rates. Okay, higher price points. People are willing to pay recurring subscriptions on a monthly or yearly basis, right? The opportunity is virtually endless. Okay, now I'm gonna talk about that a little bit more in just a second, but I wanted to just kind of backtrack a little bit. So for those of you who don't know who I am or kind of how I even got started, I just want to give you 5 minutes of who I am and my story. I don't want to stress on it too much, but I went to college for business administration, and I didn't learn anything that really applied to the real world, right? I mean, and I'm sure any of you guys who took any type of formal education, how much of that education, unless you went to a specific trade school to learn a very specific job, how much of that job or how much of that education did you actually apply to the real world? All right, I'm gonna guess probably less than 5%. Okay, And so after college, I moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, back in 2006, and that's actually where I still live today. I love the area. It's actually become a big tech hub as well. It's one of the largest tech hubs in the U.S. outside of like Silicon Valley. Austin, Texas has a big one, and the Raleigh-Durham area has really been a big area for startups. And so after college, I entered the marketing agency world. And so I started to learn how to do things like search engine optimization and pay-per-click advertising and social media and email marketing. And what was really cool was I got to kind of play with house money. I got to play with other businesses' money to kind of learn and see, how to drive traffic and how to build a social presence and how to, just all that kind of stuff. I kind of learned on the job for about 5 years. Now, for me, I got fired from the last job that I've ever had, or formal job. I don't even consider what I do a job, but I'm the last person that I actually worked for. I got fired from that job, and it was a blessing in disguise. I remember sitting in the office with my former boss and him just being like, "Hey, we're letting you go today," and I just remember that feeling, like my throat, or my that lump in my throat. And my stomach dropped, and I went into a cold panic sweat. I didn't know what I was going to do, and luckily for me, around that time, in around 2011, I stumbled upon this place called the Warrior Forum. If you guys have heard of the Warrior Forum, just give me a quick yes in the chat box. The Warrior Forum is the largest forum for marketers, for internet marketers. And there was a specific part of this forum that I noticed. It was called Warrior Special Offers. And it's still there today. You can go and check it out. And so all these people are creating software. Okay, they're creating software and information products. They're selling products, and they're selling hundreds or even thousands of units, okay, to people for $27, $47, $97. And I was like, man, this is crazy. Look at this. This is just one marketplace. You can see all these different products that are selling, that people are buying on all different topics and different types of software. And one of the pieces of software that really stuck out to me was a product called Pop-Up Domination. Now, some of you guys have maybe heard about it. I think it came out in 2010, 2011, kind of when I was researching all this stuff. And I love this piece of software. It's a WordPress plugin that helps you to capture leads, opt-in forms, right? It creates, and helps to build your email list. And I always heard, the money's in the list, and so I really liked this product, and I started to use it. And I installed it on a bunch of my sites, and I was just kind of watching what people were doing across the web and across the software space. And I didn't know much about software, but I knew that people were making a killing off of software. And so I had all these different ideas, but I was like, I didn't really know how to create software. I was like, man, I had this one idea for how to help people build a list through viral marketing. And to make a long story short, I ended up finding out who developed Pop-Up Domination. It was a development firm out of, it was in Europe, out of... Man, I can't remember exactly where it was, but anyways, I sought them out. I reached out to them and said, hey, I have this idea for a piece of software. I'd love for you guys to be able to help me create it. Here's the idea. Here's the concept. Do you guys think you can help build it for me? And to make a long story short, about $30,000 later, I had my first software product called List Eruption, and I still sell it today. And we've gone on to create version 2.0. And they helped me to create, turn my idea into reality. Now, I realized that there were 4 big lessons that I learned going through this whole process, which maybe you guys have gone through these lessons the hard way as well. If you haven't, that's good. You can learn from my mistakes. Okay. Now, the first lesson was to mitigate risk at all costs. Okay, especially in the beginning. Okay, when you're just starting out. Now, when I had some savings, right? And so I did not mitigate risk, because I basically put my life savings into the hands of a development company to create this piece of software. Okay. What I didn't realize was lesson number 3, which I'll talk about in a second. Okay. Lesson number 2 was don't get feature happy. Okay, what happens is people create software and then they're like, you know what? We can't launch this software yet because it needs this feature. It needs that feature. And maybe you show it to someone and they're like, oh, you know what? This is really cool, but I need X, Y, and Z. And then you go back to the drawing board and then you know what that means? You got to spend more time, more money, more resources to get it just right, to get it just perfect. And here's my 2 cents. No software is ever perfect. So one thing that I learned was to get the damn thing launched and out and get people using it and adopting it. And even if they're paying you at $1 a month, or even if they pay you one time, right? At least you have some revenue coming in, and you have some proof of concept, right? That people want your product, that there's demand for your product. Okay, and so lesson number 3 kind of goes back to what I was talking about in lesson number 1 was mitigating risk, is having a marketing plan in place. Okay, so what I realized was, so I spent $30,000 on development, but oh my God, I got to figure out how to market this thing, and everything takes time and money, and so I need to figure out how to market this thing. So have a marketing plan in place before you're even thinking about bringing an idea to fruition. Okay. And then lesson number 4 is make sure you test, and then after you've tested, test some more. Okay. What happens is people, yes, you want to get a product out there to the market, but you want to do it in a very systematic way, okay, where you can get a small group of alpha testers, that I call them, small group of people, 5, 10, 20 people using the software and doing your own internal testing, as well as starting to bring on a small number of people to test and work it out and get and understand that part of the process is going to be working out those bugs, and to also budget for that as well. Because what I thought was, okay, once I had that piece of software, I can wipe my hands clean. It's done. And that's not the case. Okay, it's think of it as a living, breathing organism. You need to support it. Which means you need to market it, right? And which means extra money that you need to involve in the process. Okay. Now don't worry, guys. I know it sounds kind of crazy at first, but I'm going to show you guys ways that you can mitigate all of these risks and start reinvesting profits as quickly as possible. Okay, but to make a long story short, again, I basically broke even. I spent about $30,000. I did a product launch, which I did a launch myself, and it totally flopped. And that's when I realized, hey, I need to bring someone in here that knows how to market a piece of software and to help generate revenue. And so I hired someone who was a mentor of mine, and I brought him in as a partner, and I said, hey, I have this piece of software. I paid a lot of money for it. If you can just help me sell the damn thing, and he did, right? He had lots of affiliate partners. He showed me how to drive traffic. He showed me his system. And, we grossed about $145,000 in revenue. And while that was awesome, I basically broke even after paying out my partner, after paying out affiliates, after, my development costs. I broke even, which I was okay with, right? I consider myself one of the lucky ones, because a lot of people aren't that lucky. They don't find that mentor. They don't find that lucky, that luck where, they're able to figure out how to generate revenue from whatever it is that they built. Okay. So for me, this was my aha moment, going through this entire process and kind of, seeing the mistakes that I make. Okay. I had all these priceless takeaways that I'm kind of glad that I invested all that money and made that risk, because I may not have seen these priceless takeaways. I learned the fundamentals of selling and marketing software. Okay. I noticed that demand was insane for software, right? Demand was just absolutely insane. I had sold a few information products in the past, and the demand just wasn't there. I mean, for software, it's just crazy how much demand there is. Okay, I started building my reputation, started building rapport with other affiliates and customers. Okay, I started meeting new affiliates, which turned out to be a great traffic source. Okay, I identified countless mistakes that I could fix. And then I had a digital asset that I could start to sell over and over again. Yes, I had to maintain it and support it, but once we worked out those initial few bugs, I was able to just sell it over and over again. And it was an asset that could make me money while I slept. Okay. Now, one thing that I realized during this was information products, training programs. there's literally zero barrier to entry. Okay, and that's a good and it's a bad thing, right? It's a good thing if you're trying to create an info product that all you need is your computer and a microphone and a recording, device or software, and you can start recording your training programs and put it up there on the web and sell it, right? The bad news is that everybody's doing it, right? So there's so much more competition out there. Okay, as opposed to software where there's a major barrier to entry, right? People need to understand how to create software. They think it's expensive, right? There's all of these things that people think, these misconceptions of building software, okay? And that's originally what I thought, okay? And so there's that perceived barrier to entry when it comes to software, okay? And I'm going to show you guys that it's not, okay? Now, what was I missing, okay? I hired a development team to create this software, and then I hired a mentor to market the software. But what I was missing was development, right? I didn't really understand the development process, because essentially what I did was I said I had an idea. Hey guys, go out there and build it for me. But I wasn't able to really look over the development team's shoulder and learn how they did it, so that maybe I could learn a few things along the way and minimize my development costs, right? Maybe manage a few developers myself and do it myself, right? So here's what I did. I started to align myself and partner with other talented developers that I knew of. Okay, the first one, his name was Ricky Mateka. Some of you guys may know him. He was a lead developer for Mike Filsame. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of Mike before. He's been around. He's been here for doing online marketing for 12, 14 years. And he's one of the original pioneers. And so Ricky was one of his lead developers, and then he went off and did his own thing. And I saw kind of the stuff that he was doing, and it was a great opportunity because I had learned from one of my first mentors, the marketing and the traffic portion of things, but I didn't know the development side. And so I was able to align myself with Ricky, and we created a few pieces of software. And along the way, I was able to work closely with him and learn the systems and processes of how to create software from scratch. Okay. Another person that I aligned myself with and partnered with was a guy named Dylan Jones. Some of you guys may know him. He's kind of behind the scenes, but he was one of the original founders of ClickFunnels with Russell Brunson, which I'm sure you guys have heard of. ClickFunnels has been wildly successful. He's the brains behind, that cool interface and drag and drop interface with building your pages. So I learned a lot from working with him for a few years. And so just between those two guys and, maybe over the 4 years that we worked together, I learned so much about the development process. I learned this streamlined way to develop, take an idea and take the concept and develop it, get it tested, get it out there, and start making money from it. Okay, so I have this system in place. Take your idea, wireframe it out. From wireframe to design to development to QA, and then to start to bring on alpha and beta testers, and then officially release it. Okay, and so I'll kind of go through this mind map in just a little bit, but this system is really what I learned, and I started to learn this is what other successful software startups and software companies were doing. And once I was able to learn this, I went software creation crazy. I really did. Like, I just started creating all these different pieces of software. And when I started off, in the beginning, WordPress was really big at the time. So I created a lot of WordPress plugins and WordPress themes and a few pieces of desktop software, which from a development standpoint, those are a little bit, there's pros and cons, but they're a little bit simplified, which was good for me because I was just starting out. But then I kind of, as the industry started to evolve and as what's called SaaS, which is software as a service, or web applications where you log in to a piece of software from your browser, those became so much more popular, much easier to support as well. And I started, over the years, we've created dozens and dozens of pieces of software. You can just see here, these are all the different sales pages from different pieces of software that we have created over the years. And so we've created a brand called Digital Kickstart, and that's our kind of our main brand. And we've generated over $20 million in software sales just by launching these different pieces of software and streamlining the process. And what's amazing is, we kind of cracked this code, and this is kind of what our daily deposits are like, right? Like on the left-hand side, this is a screenshot this is back from 2015, and we still see this today, right? daily deposits from Stripe into our bank account, right? $4,200, $6,700, $7,400. I mean, this is every single day. Thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars are coming into our bank account from selling software, right? On the right-hand side, you have, these are just PayPal notifications, people purchasing through PayPal, buying our software, and you get these notifications every single day, hundreds of them, thousands of them sometimes. And this is when, I kind of realized, man, this is where we need to be. And I mean, this is what has changed my life forever. And what I'm hoping that you guys are starting to see is the opportunity here, right? The opportunity to be able to generate insane amount of money, even from just one product, right? Even from one product that has lots of demand, and it changed my life forever. Okay, now you want to know how development companies can charge $150 an hour or more, right? When I worked for a marketing agency, we were a full agency. We did development, design, marketing. We were charging at the time $105 an hour. Then that went up to $125. Then as I got fired, we were up to $150 an hour. I'm not even sure what they're up to now. But the average development company, at least in the United States, is around $100 to $150 an hour or more. And that's crazy, right? And so here's the thing. What most people do is they have an idea, they hire a developer or a development company, and then they throw up a sales page and they wait for sales, right? And it's true, you don't know what you don't know, and that's one of the reasons that people are willing to pay $100 or $150 per hour. And normally, people willing to pay that are usually the larger companies that have a bigger budget. But even for those that go out and hire people at $10 an hour, $20 an hour, they don't know how to hire the right people. So, problem number one is you either go way over budget, right, and you spend 2, 3, 10 times more than you had anticipated, or the product didn't turn out as expected, right? Maybe you hired someone and they just didn't know what the hell they were doing. You tried to shortcut it a little bit, and they had a great hourly rate or a great per project rate, but there's all these bugs and it just didn't work out how you wanted to, right? Or problem number 3, you had no traffic source, right? You got the thing built, but you don't know how to drive traffic and market it. And then product number 4, which this is the easiest problem to solve, okay, is that there was actually no demand for it in the first place. So you should have never gone through the whole process of getting it created, marketing it, testing it, all that kind of stuff. Spending all that time, money, and resources when there was no demand in the first place. Now, just give me raise the hands or put in a 1, 2, 3, 4 if you guys have run into any of these problems. For those of you who have created software in the past, give me a 1, 2, 3, 4 if all of them, or just list out the numbers of which of these problems have you run into. Problem 1 was you went way over budget. Problem 2 was it just didn't turn out as you expected it to be. Problem number 3 is no traffic source. Problem number 4 is there was no demand for it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 2 and 4, 1 and 4, all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Lots of 1, 2, 3, 4s. Okay, yeah. So you guys are kind of understanding it. For those of you who have maybe attempted to create a piece of software and failed, and I get it, guys. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys kind of feel like this guy right here. You're just frustrated, right? You've tried in the past and just failed, and or you just don't know where to start, right? And it was frustrating, right? It's frustrating for me spending $30,000, wasting my life savings and having it flop, okay? And learning the hard way, right? Trying again, failing, trying again, failing. If you don't already, burn through all your money, right? It's frustrating. I get it, okay? So knowing what I know now, okay, we've learned that most streamlined, lean process for cutting out all of the fat, okay, time and money that we've wasted over the years. Okay, it took me, 4 or 5 years to really learn a streamlined way to create and sell software, okay? And now fast forward to today, and over the last few years, we can build apps for 70 to 80% less than what these big venture capital backed companies can spend. These guys may have $5, $10, $20 million in backed in venture capital funding, but we can compete with them because we've learned how to streamline and bootstrap the process. Okay, and so here's the process. Step number one is to validate market demands. Okay, validate market demand and make sure that, hey, there's mass appeal. Okay, depending on the type of competitor research you're doing, sometimes you do want a lot of competition, sometimes you don't, right? Like with search engine optimization, one thing I learned was you wanted to balance, the demand, right? Like people searching certain keywords versus the competition, right? How, who's ranking for those keywords? Because sometimes it's almost next to impossible to outrank them. With creating software, you want mass appeal and you want tons of competition. You want tons of competition because that means if there are 5, 6, 10 dozens of applications out there that are selling, relatively the same thing, they each have maybe their own competitive advantage, that means that there's money to be made, or else these companies would not be around. So you want mass appeal, you want lots of competition. Okay, what you do not want is you have an idea and you're like, man, there's no one else out here that's done this. This is crazy. Like, could this be too good to be true? 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, it's going to be too good to be true. Okay, so to mitigate risk, which is always priority number one as an entrepreneur, we want to have mass appeal. We want to have lots of competition. Okay, we want to have lots of people discussing the topic in blogs, in forums, in social media. Okay, if you see tons of chatter talking about, hey, I'm having this problem, right? If you can see, oh, well, hey, there's this solution for this pain or challenge that lots of people are having. Okay, and if it focuses on one problem, that is the green light to go ahead and, hey, start to build the damn thing out, right? Mass appeal, tons of competition, tons of people talking about it, solves one pain or challenge, and it focuses on one problem. Now, I mentioned one problem because sometimes, again, it kind of goes back to that one issue of getting feature happy. Where you're trying to have the software do too much. And what happens is your software gets diluted and it doesn't do it does a lot of things, but it doesn't do one thing the best. And what I have found is that people are willing to pay for a piece of software when it does one thing the best. Okay, and that's what you need to do. You need to focus on one problem and be the best at it. Okay, now once you have validated that there's market demand, we go to step 2, which is create a wireframe or some sort of a concept. Okay, and there's lots of wireframing tools out there. You don't have to be a designer, you don't have to be a developer to kind of just get it on paper of what exactly, how do you envision this piece of software looking? Because what happens is, if you don't have this wireframe or general concept, then the designer, when they go to make it look pretty, they're kind of just going off of what they think, and then there's that disconnect of what you have in your head and what the designer has in their head, and you spend 10 times longer trying to nail it down. Okay, now once you have that design ironed out, then being able to manage the development process correctly, right? Creating milestones, creating what we call sprints, making sure that all of one developer or multiple developers are all in communication, and that everyone knows the expectations and everyone is in line. And so we use something called Jira, Jira, which is a great project management solution specifically for building software. Okay. Now, step 4 is having a proper testing ground in place, right? Having a development server, or having someone or someone be able to own, hey, I'm going to do what's called QA or quality assurance or testing, right? Ensuring that when you're creating software, you're adding a new feature or you're fixing bugs, that they're properly getting tested to ensure that that everything is okay before you go and push it to a live environment where customers are using your software. Okay, and then step 5 is having that foolproof marketing strategy in place where that, hey, I have a way to drive traffic. I have a way. I know that I'm going to be able to convert visitors into buyers. And so there's all of these steps along the way which can become a hiccup in your overall strategy, and can take a great idea Okay, maybe you have a great idea, but you don't execute on development. Or maybe you have a great idea, you can execute on development, but you don't have a good marketing strategy, right? If you're missing one of these pieces, it can turn a potentially great software business into a flop, okay? Now, one thing that we've also learned, and that's helped us to bootstrap our software startups, is we know how to find talented developers, talented designers, talented testers, talented IT people, support guys, right, from all across the world. And what's really neat is, you know, there's talent all over the place, and a lot of it's all relative to the cost of living, right? We hire guys from the Philippines. The average Filipino monthly earnings, anybody know? Just curious. Anybody know what the average monthly earnings or monthly wage for a Filipino worker? Just take a wild guess, okay? Now, you can't be in the Philippines. Anyone outside the Philippines, take a guess. $800 a month? No. $2,000? No. $1,200? No. So it's less than what all of you guys have guessed so far. The lowest one so far, okay, has been $550. $550. Okay, it's lower than that. Okay, 200. No, that's a little low. That's too low. So the average wage is about $325. Okay, US dollars a month. Okay, and you know what? And that's because of the cost of living is much lower, right? You can go and get a meal for a few dollars, as opposed to if you got a meal in the US, you're going to pay, you know, $15, $20, right? So the cost of living is cheaper, and so people can live well on $300, $350 a month. Now, I'm not saying that every developer that you go and hire is going to be $300 a month. Okay, developers are usually a little bit more, but you can find talented developers for $10, $15 an hour. Okay, whereas if you go and hire someone in the U.S., you could pay, if you hire them directly, $50 an hour. If you hire a development firm, you're going to be paying, like I said, $100 to $150 an hour. It's crazy. Okay. But again, you don't know what you don't know. If you don't know how to manage developers the right way, that's why people do it. And that's why these development companies are in business. Okay. So what if you could build a piece of software that you knew for certainty it was going to be successful, or at a minimum at least break even? Okay. We've been able to get to that point where we know whatever we build, okay, just because the process is so refined now, we know that we can at least break even. Okay, we can at least, hey, if we've invested, $8,000 or $5,000 or $20,000 into a project, we know that we're going to at least break even on it. Okay, so how cool that, what kind of confidence would that give you if you could build a piece of software knowing for certainty that you're not going to lose money on it? Okay, that at a minimum you're going to at least break even, but more likely you're going to be successful, and you're going to at least make 2, 3, 5, 10 times more, or even turn it into a full-fledged mainstream software, right? How cool would that be? Okay, and that's what we have done. Okay, we've taken out the risk. Okay, it's that unfair advantage of we've mitigated the risk, and we've created 100 times return on our investment before. Okay, now I'm not saying, okay, this little FTC claimer or disclaimer that everyone's going to be able to go and do that and do 100 times your return on investment. Okay, but what I am here to tell you is that there is a certain framework that you can follow, okay, to have virtually no risk or mitigate risk to the nth degree. Okay, and so here's what we've been able to do. Here's a screenshot. Okay, we've hired a lot of developers over the years, and we've actually we've used Upwork.com, which is a great resource for finding talented contractors, developers, right, designers. And here's a screenshot of some of the guys that we've worked with in the past. Okay, and so you'll see on the right hand side the amount that we have invested, or that we have paid that contractor to build a piece of software. Okay, what I added in there is the revenue that was generated from that application. Okay, so let's go through this line by line, because this is kind of crazy to think about. Amount $4,020. Okay, the top guy. We generated $74,000. Okay, and created a long-term software asset that's going to pay us time and time again, right? From investing $4,000 in development. Okay, another one. We invested $7,500. We got $88,000 in revenue generated. Okay, we invested $740 and generated $32,000. Right? Here's another one. $4,200 we paid a guy, generated $55,000 in revenue. And then we even had one where we invested $7,000 and we got over $148,000 in revenue generated. This is just from our initial return on investment from the revenue that was generated from it. Okay, so how cool would that be, guys? If you can generate these types of returns, it's a complete no-brainer. And that's why once we kind of cracked this code, that's why we just went crazy and started creating so much software, and just because we've refined this process over and over again. Okay, and so I'm sure a lot of you guys are saying, well, how do you do it, right? How do you do it step by step? And obviously, guys, we're on this call. I mean, I'm not going to spend all day, or we're not going to have multiple sessions here going through every single step. We only have 60 or 90 minutes, and so what I did was I created a step-by-step program called Startup Bootstrapped. Okay, and this program has been a culmination of about 6 years now of developing software, right, on a shoestring budget. Okay, and so what I've done is I've created these modules and resources and checklists and this complete program for those of you who are serious about moving forward and seeing the type of results that I have, and I'm not saying that you're gonna be able to clone those results, but you're going to be a step ahead of everybody else, anyone else who's wanted to build a piece of software and failed, or those people who have an idea but they don't even know the first place to start. Okay, so let me break down exactly what's inside of this program. Okay. Module 1, guys, is mindset and business fundamentals. Okay, we're going to talk about why have most startups failed and how to avoid the top pitfalls. We've talked about some of them during this call, but we go into much more depth, right? How success breeds success. I'm going to show you guys how hanging around the right type of people can help to breed your success as well, right? How to understand the software industry and the opportunity that's there. Okay, we're going to talk about what type of DNA is made up of successful software entrepreneurs. We're going to talk about success hacks and the habits, right? The daily habits of a successful software entrepreneur, okay? And the formula for picking a winning product to create, right? Because there's lots of ideas, especially, if you have that kind of entrepreneurial mindset, that's great because you probably have lots of ideas. The hardest part is figuring out which idea to focus on and executing on, right? Or maybe you don't have an idea. I'm going to show you guys some steps on how you can go and research a specific industry and find an idea that you can take and create a piece of software, right? Module number 2 is our development methodology. Okay, I'm going to talk about just understanding the developer lingo. Now, don't believe me, this is not going to be like Rosetta Stone, where you have to learn a foreign language, or you have to learn how to speak French or Spanish, right? But just understanding some of the main keywords and phrases that developers use, and just understanding what they mean. Okay, so it's just a little bit of translation, nothing too crazy, right? You're also going to learn how to stay in control. Okay. I can tell you right now, the majority of people, why they fail at creating software is it spirals completely out of control, and they've taken an idea and they've wasted 2, 3, 5 times more than what they wanted to spend because they didn't have control of the project. Okay, they didn't have control of the process. They didn't have control of their team. Okay, and I'm going to show you guys how to stay in control. Okay, I'm going to talk about something called the Agile methodology, which is really just a methodology for development, right? How do you go about building software? How do you go? We'll talk about things like versions and sprints and milestones, and how to break it down so that it doesn't spiral out of control, that everything is right within your grasp and you can manage it properly. Okay, we'll talk about the approval process, right? When something gets done, how does it get approved? How does it get pushed to development? How does it get pushed to the live server? All those types of things we'll talk about. Okay. Module number 3, probably the most robust module, is the overall development process. How to go from talking about ideation, once you have your idea, taking it into a wireframe. How do you go from your wireframe to a design or an actual user interface that you can actually see? Once you have that, taking it to development and actually getting the back end coded up in the database, all that kind of stuff. Then we'll talk about how to QA and do testing, and then we'll also talk about security as well, because obviously, for those of you, some of you guys are going to be storing secure, sensitive information. You want to make sure that you're using your best practices with security. Module 4 is hiring your team, right? Execution. How are you going to hire developers, designers, testers, QA guys, support guys? I'm going to show you guys what parts of the world, how much you should be paying them, what sample job qualifications, right? What type of red flags do you want to look for before you hire these people? There's a whole science to hiring the right types of people. I'm going to show you guys how to do that. Okay. Module number 5 is our launch process. I'm going to walk you guys through how we take the product and actually go out there and launch it. How do we, do an early internal release? How do we then take it to alpha testers, beta testers? How do we get our first 10 customers? How do we get our first 100 customers, first 1,000 customers? How do we get it mainstream, right? We got to take baby steps. I'll show you guys how to work your way up to making it wildly successful. Okay. Module 6 is our onboarding sequence. I'm going to show you guys how to get more customers using your app as soon as possible. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get customers from day one, as soon as that product is ready to go, while also minimizing cancellations and refunds. Okay, there's a misconception that you need to continuously get more and more customers, and while obviously that's true, guys, if you can minimize cancellations and people refunding, especially if they're on a recurring subscription, which hopefully that's the goal here, guys, is to get people paying you monthly or yearly. If we can just minimize that, then that obviously maximizes your revenue. Okay, I'm going to talk about things like email onboarding, in-app onboarding. So when people start to use your software, how do you get them acclimated to it? How do you get them onboarded and using your software so they never want to leave it, so they know exactly how to use it? We'll talk about things like knowledge base and training onboarding as well. So again, so they're knowledgeable and they know how to use your app. Okay. Module 7 is creating the actual offer. So this is kind of, now we're starting to get into sales and marketing, guys. How to identify the product, an offer overview. We'll talk about how to create your sales page, how to create a knowledge base, how to create a feature request area. So one of the things that we noticed early on, guys, is people love to just throw out, hey, I want this feature, I want that feature. I'm going to show you a really cool streamlined way to create a feature request area. It's hands-free for you. You don't have to keep on saying, well, we'll think about it, or oh, let me keep you updated. Really cool system there. I'll show you how to create a blog that maybe you want to use to help market your software. Even a podcast. I'll show you how to create an evergreen webinar that you can use to market that software. I'll show you how to implement a shopping cart so people can pay you, and it manages the subscriptions. You can manage upgrades and downgrades, all that kind of stuff. How to create an affiliate program so you can have affiliates promote your products and earn commissions referring sales, right? How to set up your help desk, right? How to manage tickets, that kind of stuff. How to create a sign-up page. How to create what I call a hybrid landing page. How to create API docs. How to create a status page. Alternative pages, comparison pages, legal pages, all these different, some of the stuff is a little bit more advanced, but I walk you through it and it's all there for you when you get to that point. Okay. Module 8 is measuring and analytics. So I'm going to show you guys how to identify what are what are called KPIs, key performance indicators. How to measure things like your monthly recurring revenue, how to measure your churn rate, what's the best price points to look at, right? How to set up specific goals for your product, right? How to do split testing to see, hey, are more people converting from landing page A, or are more people from landing page B? How to monitor and record user sessions so you can see how people are engaging with your app. So all sorts of, this is more of the kind of the technical measuring, the analytical side of running a software business. And then module 9 is growth and scaling. I'm going to show you guys how, down the road, if you're looking to raise capital, maybe you've taken your software to a point where you're like, you know what? If I had some more money, I've already have proof of concept. I just need more customers, or I need more developers, and I need to scale it out faster. I'm going to show you guys some tricks on when you're at that point that you can raise capital. Okay, I'm going to show you what's the proper way to scale your team. Okay, I've seen plenty of companies that try to scale too fast and they implode. I've seen plenty of companies that scale too slowly and they can't keep up with the market. Okay, I'm going to show you how to set up and scale paid ads. Now, I'm not going to go super in depth. This isn't a paid advertising course, but I'm going to show you guys some of the basics of what we do, how we do some things like retargeting, and set up some simple ads to help generate either new customers or people who were interested in your product and didn't buy. I'm going to show you how you can bring them back and get them to purchase your app, right? I'm going to show you how to find partners, affiliate partners, or even partners that you can team up with and maybe join forces and create and launch a software yourself, right? Joining forces and sharing resources and revenue and all that kind of stuff, right? I'll show you how to do what we call a free plus shipping offer, and I'm also going to show you how to set yourself up if you're looking to get bought out. Okay, obviously each one of you guys are going to have unique goals. For some of you guys, you're just gonna be like, I'm not really interested in building up this application to get bought out. Maybe this is my baby. I want to be part of it for till I'm ready to retire, right? But for some of you, you guys may be interested in, the end goal is, hey, I want to build this product up to a certain point. After 2 years, I want to sell this thing and I want to get a nice little payout from it. I'm going to show you guys how you can do that and set yourself up to get acquired. Okay. Now, those are the 9 core modules. We also have live calls, okay, similar to kind of this call, where each call is a little bit different. We talk about different topics, and it's all powered by our users, what you guys want. And we add those live calls into the members area. So you can obviously be part of these live calls. This is a great way to get your questions answered as you're going along the way. I can answer your questions. And then also, if you can't make a live call, they get put into the members area, and they're all recorded. Okay. Now think about it this way, guys. The average cost of a bachelor degree, okay, for a public school is about $100,000, and that is going up. My daughter is six years old right now. If she wants to get a bachelor's degree, I mean, I'm probably gonna have to pay like $500,000. It's getting insane, right? And that's just for public school. A private school is $200,000, right? And it's just crazy, man. You see all these people that get into insane amounts of debt after school, and they can't even get a job, and they spend half of their life, or the good majority of their life, just trying to get out of debt and not really living the dreams and the life that they intended. Okay, and what sucks is there's no refund or guarantee, right? So you go through this public or private schooling, you spend tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars over 4 years or however many years it is, and there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee you're going to get a job or that you're going to be successful, right? So here's one of the things that I did. Okay, I want you guys to be successful. I want to give you guys the tools, the resources, the training, everything you need to be successful. So here's what I've done. Okay, I've added a 60-day money-back guarantee, which means that at any time during the first 60 days of joining the program, if you don't feel that this is what you want to do, or if you feel that you're not getting your money's worth, right, or if you're not being successful with this, that you can get your money back, you can get your investment back. Okay, so I already saw a few people asking, how much is this going to cost. I'm going to get to it right now. Okay, now for the general public, okay, right now we're in what I call the early adopter or early enrollment period. Okay, after that period is up, okay, the general public, it's going to be $997. Okay, it's going to be $1,000, and it may go up after that. Okay, I'm not sure yet, but when we release this to the general public, this is kind of a private internal early adopter period. Okay, it's going to be $997. Okay, for today only. Okay, you can join during the early enrollment period for $600 off, which is one-time payment of $397. Okay. One-time payment of $397. All you need to do to get started is go to startupbootstrapped.com/go. Okay, we'll put it in the chat box as well. So you can click on that link, go to startupbootstrapped.com/go. It's a one-time investment, okay, of $397. Okay, and this is going to teach you guys everything that you need to know to get started on a bootstrap budget and create a successful, profitable software business. Okay, now if you think about this, the college equivalent, this is really the college equivalent of building and running a successful software business without what I consider to be the BS, right? All the BS that you didn't really need when you were in school. It's just kind of the formal education system, kind of made you learn it, right? But you never actually did anything with it. This is stuff that you can apply immediately and start making revenue, start creating a business right away. Okay, so let me ask you guys a quick question. How much would you guys be willing to pay, or how much would it be worth to not have to waste time and money trying to figure everything out yourself? Just give me a number, right? I mean, guys, I spent $30,000 just on one project, just hiring a development firm, when knowing what I know now, I could have spent $5,000 maybe to build that exact same product Okay, knowing what I know now. Okay, knowing how to hire the right type of people, knowing how to manage technical projects, knowing the process step by step, how to manage a development, to manage the development